Max Carter was an ordinary guy living in a not-so-ordinary city. Earth had seen massive changes over the years, with technology advancing faster than anyone could have imagined. Robots cleaned homes, flying cars zoomed across the skies, and digital screens were everywhere, showing everything from news to personal messages. But for Max, it was the little things that mattered most. Max was tired. Tired of cleaning his apartment, tired of being stuck in a never-ending cycle of work and chores. He had read about a new cleaning robot, the latest model that promised to save time and do a better job than anything before. After struggling with endless spills and dirt for weeks, he finally decided to order it. The promise of an effortless home was too tempting. With just a few clicks on his Holo tablet, Max secured his purchase. "This is going to be perfect," he muttered to himself, looking forward to the convenience the new robot would bring. It was only a couple of hours later when the package arrived. Max opened the door eagerly, expecting to find a sleek, futuristic cleaning robot, ready to do its work. But what he saw instead made him stop in his tracks. A young woman stood on his doorstep, looking as confused as he was. She was tall, with silver-blue skin that shimmered in the sunlight, and her long hair was streaked with delicate purple hues. She wore strange clothing, some sort of tight-fitting silver suit with an intricate design, and her eyes gleamed with a mix of curiosity and confusion. Can I help you?" Max stuttered, his brain trying to process what he was seeing. Was this some kind of mistake? The woman tilted her head, looking at him curiously. "I was sent here to assist you," she said, speaking in perfect but slightly accented English. "I am Lyria." Max blinked in disbelief. "Wait. Assist me? What do you mean? I ordered a cleaning robot. Where's the robot?" Lyria's confusion deepened. She looked down at herself, almost as if noticing her appearance for the first time. "I am the cleaning robot." Max stood frozen for a moment, trying to make sense of the situation. "You're not a robot. You're a person. Why did I get you instead of a robot?" "I'm afraid there has been some mistake," Lyria explained, her voice calm yet unsure. "I am an Orlith, an assistant sent to help with manual tasks. I am programmed for efficient house maintenance." She glanced back at the crate she had just arrived in. "Though this delivery was not intended for this location, I was supposed to be assigned to a prestigious corporation." Max stared at her for a few moments, not sure whether he should be worried or amused. "So, you're not here to clean?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. Lyria nodded, though she appeared uncertain. "I can clean, but I am designed to serve in more professional environments." "This is unusual." Max scratched his head, his thoughts racing. He had ordered a state-of-the-art cleaning robot, not a mysterious alien girl who appeared to be equally out of place. As much as he tried to remain calm, he couldn't shake the feeling that this had to be a mistake. But what choice did he have? "Well, I can't just leave you out here," Max finally said. "It sounds like something went wrong with your delivery. Maybe we can figure this out." Lyria gave him a small, puzzled smile. "I would appreciate your assistance," she said, taking a step inside when Max stepped aside to let her in. As she entered, Max noticed something that caught his attention. Despite her unexpected appearance, Lyria moved with the precision of a highly skilled worker, much like someone who had experience doing meticulous tasks. Her suit seemed to shimmer as if programmed with cleaning techniques. Max couldn't help but chuckle a bit under his breath. "All right, so you're here to help with cleaning then. Can you tell me how this works?" Max asked, a little nervous but also curious. "What can you actually do?" Lyria looked around his apartment for a moment before answering. "I am skilled in organizing spaces, deep cleaning, and efficiency improvement." She paused and glanced at Max. "Would you like me to start now?" Max wanted to say something about the sheer absurdity of the situation, but something about Lyria's seriousness caught his attention. She wasn't a random prank. She was obviously intelligent and capable, just not in the way he'd expected. "Yeah," Max said after a moment of thought. Go ahead. Lyria moved around the apartment with surprising speed and precision, picking up items in a way that made everything seem almost effortless. Max sat on the couch, unsure how to proceed. While the situation was far from normal, there was something almost mesmerizing about the way Lyria worked. He had to admit that he was still fascinated by how well she seemed to understand what needed to be done. He couldn't help but wonder what this mix-up meant for him. He had heard stories of strange things happening with intergalactic deliveries before, but having an actual alien here in his home, that was a whole new level of surprise. For the next hour, Max continued watching Lyria organize and clean with near-robotic precision. She didn't speak much, focusing on her tasks, and Max soon realized that despite the strange circumstances, it was working. His apartment was looking more pristine than it had in ages. At that moment, Max realized he had no idea what to do next. Lyria was here, doing a job meant for a robot, but as a person. Who knew what kind of story this would turn out to be? But one thing was clear. Whatever this strange situation was, it was certainly going to be interesting. Max had never imagined that a simple order for a cleaning robot would lead to his life being turned upside down. Lyria, the alien girl who had unexpectedly shown up on his doorstep, was still busy cleaning his apartment with surprising skill and speed. Max watched in fascination as she moved from one room to the next, her silver-blue skin shimmering in the light as she carefully organized his cluttered space. He didn't know what to make of it all. She wasn't what he had ordered, not at all. Yet there was something oddly comforting about her presence. Lyria wasn't just cleaning. She seemed to bring an air of calmness wherever she went, with an almost perfect understanding of what needed to be done. It wasn't like the cold, mechanical efficiency he expected from a robot. It felt different. So, you're really not a robot? Max asked, still trying to make sense of everything. Lyria glanced up from her work, her sharp eyes focusing on him. No, I'm not a robot. I am a member of the Orlith species. We are known for our abilities in detailed maintenance, organization, and other productive tasks. My kind is often assigned to higher positions in advanced organizations, but this, I believe, was a mistake. Max couldn't help but chuckle. A mistake? Yeah, no kidding. He leaned back on his couch, thinking about the unexpected turn his day had taken. He had a real alien, an actual alien, cleaning his apartment. What was going on? How was he supposed to handle this? And more importantly, why had she been sent to him? Despite his confusion, Max realized there were more questions than answers. So how does this work, Lyria? I mean, how do you end up cleaning like a pro? What's going on with your kind that makes you different? Lyria paused, her hands stilling as she turned toward him. The Orlith are naturally inclined toward efficiency and organization. Our minds are capable of processing vast amounts of information quickly and clearly. Tasks that take others a lot of time are often done much faster by us. She looked down at the organized shelves she had just finished and added, "We also learn by observation. I study the way things work, and I apply what I know." Max's brow furrowed as he listened to her explain. She sounded like a walking encyclopedia, but without all the cold, robotic vibes that usually came with technology. It was almost like she was human. Just not. "So, you guys learn through observation?" Max asked, trying to grasp how she worked. Lyria nodded. "Yes. We also learn through experience, just like you do. My knowledge of Earth's cleaning methods comes from watching Earth videos, reading data, and reviewing instructions from various manuals." She glanced around the room. "But there are things I am still learning, things that are specific to your culture." Max raised an eyebrow. "You're learning about Earth culture by cleaning." "Part of it," Lyria said. "I am gaining understanding of human habits and preferences through the organization and arrangement of your space. It's part of my process. You might say that when you ask me to clean, you're teaching me about your world." She paused, adding thoughtfully, "And I am learning more about you as well." Max found that both a little strange and intriguing. She was learning about him just by cleaning his home. That felt odd, but also kind of amazing. In a way, he realized, it was just like watching a new friend adapt to a new place, discovering things bit by bit. "Well, if you want to learn more about me, how about some lunch?" Max asked. "I haven't really made any food in a while, so it's probably not gourmet stuff, but you're welcome to try it." Lyria's eyes lit up. "Food?" she asked, an amused expression crossing her face. "I'd be happy to try Earth food." Max stood up, smiling as he went into the kitchen. He decided to cook something simple, sandwiches, and maybe a little soup. While he prepared, he glanced over his shoulder and saw Lyria continuing her work, tidying up the last corner of his living room. The whole thing felt so normal. Too normal, really. "You sure you don't mind cooking?" Max asked. "I didn't order a cooking robot, but hey, it's worth asking." Lyria shook her head, smiling lightly. "It seems I am not equipped for cooking, but I will make sure your space is organized well. For a clear mind, a clear space." Max rolled his eyes but chuckled. It wasn't an answer he was used to, but it was somehow refreshing. Once the food was ready, Max placed a tray on the table and gestured for Lyria to sit. She was still adjusting to her surroundings, learning about human behavior, but she took the offer politely. Max tried to imagine what it must be like for her. An alien, dropped off in a strange city, placed in an unfamiliar apartment, doing things she had never been trained for. They sat in silence at first, eating the sandwiches. Max watched as Lyria took small, careful bites of her sandwich, clearly studying it. "I do not have words for the flavor," she said after a few seconds, setting the sandwich down. Max raised his eyebrows. "Oh, so that means it's really good, right? Or it is very strange," she added with a shrug. Max grinned. It was strange, having someone from a distant world sitting in his home, getting used to Earth's ways. But as he watched her observe and adapt, something in Max told him that maybe, just maybe, this might not be the last strange thing to happen in his life. Something about Lyria's determination to understand, and her calm, cool attitude made everything seem possible. Max couldn't help but think, maybe, just maybe, I'm learning more from her than I thought I would. And so, as they continued eating in silence, Max felt a sense of curiosity begin to grow. This wasn't just a mix-up. This was something new, something worth discovering. And for once, Max was ready to find out where this strange encounter would take him. The next morning, Max woke up to the sound of soft footsteps. He groggily glanced at the time on his tablet and rubbed his eyes. It was still early, but there was no way he could ignore what was happening. Lyria had spent the rest of the day before learning more about his home and routines, even managing to cook a decent meal by the time the evening arrived. This new day brought a mixture of excitement and confusion. When Max finally got up, he was surprised to find his apartment even more organized than he remembered. The dishes from the previous night had already been washed and neatly placed in the cabinets. His couch, which had been piled high with clothes just a day ago, now looked like a perfectly set display at a furniture store. The apartment felt different, cleaner, and somehow more peaceful. Lyria was at the table when Max entered, sitting still and observing his activities. She raised her head when she noticed him. Her wide silver blue eyes gave away no hint of confusion or discomfort, which Max had expected from someone who wasn't used to living on Earth. "Good morning, Max," she said with the same level of politeness as before. "Good morning," he replied, still adjusting to the weirdness of it all. It wasn't just that she was here as an unexpected assistant, but also how calm she seemed. Not once had she acted panicked or confused. It was as though this whole mix-up was just another task for her. "You didn't have to clean everything," Max said with a half-laugh. "I didn't expect you to make my place look like a showroom. Though I'll admit, it's pretty impressive. I only did what I thought would help make your space more comfortable for you." Lyria replied thoughtfully. "Organized surroundings can promote a sense of well-being, and I noticed you often seemed frustrated with the state of your apartment." Max hesitated, realizing how much truth there was in her words. He had been tired and frustrated, feeling overwhelmed by everyday tasks, but now that his space was organized, he did feel better. It was almost as if he could think more clearly. "Well, thank you," Max said sincerely, trying to make sense of it all. "I didn't expect any of this." Lyria nodded. "I understand. This has been an unexpected situation for both of us, but I am learning." She looked up at Max with a curious, almost eager expression. "What else can I do to make things easier for you? I am equipped with knowledge of Earth customs, including specific tasks you may need help with. My goal is to adapt to your needs." Max raised his eyebrows in surprise. "You can help with more than just cleaning." "I am designed to be an all-purpose assistant," she explained. "I am capable of performing many tasks based on my learning. Not all tasks, of course, but I'm happy to try. I have observed Earth customs through various data sources." Max leaned back in his chair, studying her for a moment. This was all still so new to him, but the idea of having someone, or something, so adaptable, so calm, and efficient, was tempting. Maybe having an alien living in his apartment wasn't such a bad idea after all. "Well, Lyria," he said, trying to think of what she might be able to do to help. "There's got to be something I can have you work on. Maybe some of these small details that always bug me." Lyria nodded patiently and awaited his instructions. "Okay, let's start simple," Max said. "Can you help me figure out this?" He motioned to the messy pile of papers on his desk. "I don't know what half of these are, and I need to sort them, but it always feels overwhelming." Lyria immediately stood up and walked over to the desk, analyzing the papers with focus. She picked up one sheet, scanned it, then placed it in a pile. After a few moments of shifting through the pile, she neatly stacked them into categories. "These are work documents. These appear to be personal notes, and these should be archived for later use," she said calmly. "It may be better to dispose of the old, unnecessary ones. Would you like me to proceed?" Max watched in awe. He had spent countless hours trying to sort through similar piles, only to end up shoving everything back into a drawer or ignoring it altogether. Yet here was Lyria, managing to understand and organize everything so quickly. He hadn't even told her what needed to be done, but she did it as if she already knew. It was as though the disorganization was somehow obvious to her, just as it would be to someone who understood how things were meant to be sorted. "You're amazing at this," Max said, impressed by the speed and precision with which she worked. Lyria paused for a moment, turning toward him. "Thank you, Max. I believe my skills will continue to improve as I learn about your world. There is much I must understand to fully adjust to your expectations." Max nodded thoughtfully. "I get it. Well, I'm going to have to figure out a way to make all of this work. Having you help around here, though, it's already making things easier." "That is my purpose," Lyria said quietly. "To assist." Max walked over to the desk, looking at the sorted papers. In the few short moments it had taken for her to tidy them, it felt like a burden he hadn't realized he had been carrying had been lifted. His stress over the task faded, replaced by a growing sense of calm. Still processing all the events that had led to Lyria's arrival, Max took a seat at his desk, watching her continue her work. It was still strange that an alien from a distant world had come here to help him with tasks he couldn't manage himself. It didn't make sense, and yet it felt perfectly natural to him. "Okay, let's try something different," Max said after a short pause. "How about I take a look at your programming? You said you learned from Earth data, right? Maybe I can give you a better idea of Earth culture." "I would be pleased to learn more," Lyria interrupted. "Perhaps it will help me improve." With a smile, Max turned toward his holo-tablet. Maybe, after all, he'd find a way to make this unexpected situation work in his favor, one step at a time. The next few days unfolded with surprising ease. Max had come to look forward to the unexpected companionship of Lyria, the alien girl who had become his assistant, and sometimes, surprisingly, a friend. She had gone from an impromptu replacement for a cleaning robot to someone who had taken an active interest in all things Max did. Every morning, Lyria would arrive in the kitchen, making fresh breakfast as she read his recipe books and adjusted the meal plans according to Earth's dietary standards. Max noticed she loved experimenting with new dishes, combining ingredients in ways he would never have considered. One day, he walked into the kitchen and found her happily making pancakes shaped like small starships, complete with colorful syrup trails. "This looks like a very creative breakfast," Max said, chuckling at the sight. "It is a new variation I am testing," she replied. "I have read that creativity helps promote a sense of comfort and belonging, which is essential for peaceful living." Max smiled. Despite being on Earth for only a short time, Lyria's passion for learning and improving had already made his days more enjoyable. Her effort to connect to Earth's culture was evident in every conversation they had, whether it was talking about Earth history or trying out new hobbies that humans loved. "You should try one," Lyria encouraged, pushing the plate toward Max with a friendly smile. Max hesitated only for a moment. He had tried some of her earlier attempts at cooking, and they had always been surprisingly good. "All right, but only if it's not too weird," he said with a grin. Taking a bite, he was taken aback by the delicious flavor. The pancakes were sweet, but not overwhelmingly so. There was a lightness to them that made them enjoyable. "Lyria, you've got a real talent for cooking. I am pleased you enjoy them," she replied happily, brushing a bit of flour off her shirt. "I learned some techniques after analyzing Earth's culinary books, though there is still so much more to learn." Max didn't just think about the food he ate now. He also began to realize that Lyria's talents extended beyond cooking. She had a quiet and steady interest in everything that happened in his life, showing patience and diligence every day. In the evenings, Lyria would often join him in small activities. She started watching Earth films, trying to understand the human sense of humor, culture, and even drama. Sometimes she would ask him questions in the middle of a movie, and Max enjoyed explaining the plots or answering her curiosity. "What does this romantic part mean, Max?" Lyria asked one evening after watching a movie about a human couple falling in love. Max laughed softly. "Well, it's about the feelings between two people, you know, when they really like each other. It's a bond based on affection." "Affection," Lyria repeated, nodding in understanding. "That is similar to some bonds in my world. Connection is important, yes." "Exactly," Max said with a smile. "It's one of the most important things to humans." While the concept of affection was new for Lyria, she didn't seem to mind. She was fully immersed in the idea of learning more about his world, its people, and the little intricacies that made life so enjoyable. Max was surprised by how quickly they had formed a deep connection, one based not just on necessity but a genuine bond of mutual respect and curiosity. One day, Max mentioned his love for photography, an interest he had neglected due to his busy work schedule. Lyria was fascinated. She immediately asked if she could try taking pictures with his camera. Max was curious to see how she would approach this human hobby. He handed her the camera, explaining how it worked, but he never imagined how natural it would feel to watch her operate it. Her first photos were oddly beautiful. She had an uncanny ability to see things humans would typically miss, a rainbow reflecting off a puddle, or the way the shadows of tree leaves stretched on the ground at just the right time of day. Lyria didn't need much coaching. With each click, she captured something magical, even though she'd never seen a camera before. As they walked together through the park, with Lyria capturing every small detail, Max realized how much he appreciated her curiosity. She was not only helping him around the house, but also encouraging him to reconnect with his own hobbies. Maybe it was her influence, or perhaps the fact that life with Lyria had become less routine and more exciting. "Max," Lyria asked softly as they reached the quietest part of the park, the sun beginning to set in front of them, "why do humans take pictures?" Max took a breath, thinking about how best to explain it. We take pictures to remember special moments or feelings. Sometimes we just want to preserve things that are beautiful or meaningful to us. It's a way of capturing a part of life that we might not want to forget. Lyria nodded, looking at the sunset, her camera pointing toward the horizon. I understand. Memories. Exactly, Max said. It's not just about the pictures themselves. It's the memories that come with them. The moments, the people, everything. A silence fell between them, but it wasn't uncomfortable. They simply stood there for a moment, appreciating the beautiful world around them. Max couldn't believe how much Lyria had grown from being a confused, mysterious alien to someone who seemed so attuned to Earth and everything around her. It was in that quiet moment, with the setting sun behind them and the hum of distant traffic, that Max began to realize something. It wasn't just that Lyria was a skilled assistant or a curious learner. She had become a friend, an unexpected but irreplaceable part of his life. Thank you, Max said, the words catching him off guard. He wasn't sure exactly what he was thanking her for, but he felt a sense of gratitude deep in his chest. Maybe it was for her help, for her curiosity, or for the way she had changed his perspective on so many things. Lyria turned and smiled at him, a warmth in her expression. I am happy to assist, Max. At that moment, Max realized that whatever had brought her here, whatever strange twist of fate had led to an alien arriving at his door instead of a cleaning robot, was something more. It was the beginning of something special. Over the next few weeks, Max and Lyria continued their everyday routine, but things were starting to feel different. The initial confusion surrounding Lyria's unexpected arrival had faded, and now there was a deeper understanding between them. Max was no longer bothered by the fact that the cleaning robot he ordered was never going to show up. Lyria had become something much more than a helper in the house. She was a friend. Max's house, once quiet and a little lonely, now felt more vibrant. Lyria's curiosity never waned. It seemed like she learned something new every day, absorbing human knowledge at a rapid pace. Max was amazed at how quickly she understood complex things, even things humans struggled with. She was learning Earth's languages, culture, and history, even discussing world events and philosophies with an eagerness that impressed Max. It felt like no topic was too difficult for her to learn about. One afternoon, as Max was reading a book in his living room, Lyria entered with a puzzled expression. Max, she asked, her voice tinged with confusion, I've read about this thing called guilt. Humans seem to experience it often. What does it mean exactly? Max put his book down, trying to figure out how best to explain this complicated emotion. Guilt, he started carefully, is a feeling humans have when they believe they've done something wrong, or when their actions hurt someone else. It's a reminder to try to make things right. Lyria thought for a moment. So it is like an internal warning system. Exactly, Max replied. It's something humans deal with in their minds when they feel like they could have done better. Fascinating, Lyria said, nodding as if she had solved a puzzle. It must be difficult to feel that way. Max smiled a little. It can be, but it's also part of being human. We try to learn from it and grow. This discussion sparked an idea in Lyria's mind. She decided to ask more questions to understand humans better, and Max appreciated her desire to comprehend human emotions more deeply. Each conversation brought them closer as they explored not just the physical world around them, but the psychological and emotional complexities that made humans unique. Later that week, Lyria joined Max in a trip to a local museum. She was particularly excited about this outing, asking him countless questions on the way there about what she would see. What's a museum, Max? She asked. I have read they hold historical information. Is it for entertainment or learning? It's a place where we keep artifacts from the past, Max answered, happy to introduce her to something else humans enjoyed. Museums are meant to help people learn about history, art, science, everything that's come before. When they arrived, Lyria's wide eyes sparkled with curiosity. There was so much to take in, so many objects and displays. each piece containing stories of the human past. The ancient pottery, the history of space travel, even the exhibits on prehistoric creatures were fascinating to her. One particular exhibit caught her attention, the section on early human art. There were paintings from cavemen, sketches of early human life, and sculptures. Lyria's fingers lingered near the sculptures as she observed them closely, mesmerized by how early humans expressed themselves. "Why did they make these?" Lyria asked as she touched the sculptures carefully, almost reverently. Max looked at the piece she was admiring and shrugged. Art is a way for humans to express feelings, ideas, and their view of the world around them. Back then, art was one of the few ways they could communicate their emotions and experiences. Lyria nodded again. So this was a way of connecting to others, even without using words. "That's right," Max said, proud of her insight. As they moved through the museum, Lyria's excitement never waned. She asked about every exhibit, from the earliest recorded civilizations to the cutting-edge scientific discoveries of the modern world. Max enjoyed sharing every new discovery with her. Her innocent curiosity seemed to bring the world alive in ways that Max had never fully appreciated before. At the end of their visit, as they sat on a bench in the museum's garden, Max couldn't help but think about how much things had changed. Lyria had opened his eyes to many things he had overlooked, both in the world around him and within himself. "You know, Lyria," Max said, looking over at her thoughtfully, "it's kind of amazing how much you've learned in such a short time." Lyria smiled, brushing a lock of hair from her face. "I have much to learn. Your world is incredible, Max. It is full of emotion and beauty, and ideas that I had never imagined before." Max paused for a moment before saying something that had been on his mind for a while. "And I didn't imagine that meeting you would change so many things about my life," he admitted, his voice quieter than usual. Lyria's gaze softened as she looked at him. There was a shared understanding between them now, an unspoken bond. Lyria was from another world, and she had started as nothing more than an unfamiliar stranger, but now she had become an essential part of Max's life. His home was warmer now, not just because of the meals and cleaning, but because of the unique friendship that had grown between them. "I am glad I came," Lyria said, her voice sincere. Max smiled. "Me too." With that, the two of them sat there, looking out over the garden. It wasn't just the beauty of the museum that had touched them that day. It was the understanding they shared and the realization that, while they were different in many ways, there was also much that connected them. Weeks had passed, and Max couldn't help but notice how much his life had changed. Lyria, the alien who had once seemed like a confusion in his life, had now become a part of his everyday world. From the cleaning robot replacement, someone who shared his thoughts, interests, and dreams, she had transformed everything. One evening after dinner, Max and Lyria were sitting together on the couch. Max was looking through an old photo album his grandmother had left him. Each picture told stories of family gatherings, holidays, and the simple moments of life. Lyria, sitting beside him, asked with curiosity, "Who are these people, Max?" Max smiled, pointing to the first photo. "That's my family. My parents, my grandparents, and my siblings. We grew up together in this house." Lyria looked at the photo with wide eyes. "These people, they seem happy. Are humans always happy like this?" Max hesitated for a moment before answering. "Not always. Humans go through a lot of things. Sometimes they struggle, sometimes they get sad, but they find ways to be happy again. These photos remind me of the good times." Lyria nodded as she studied the pictures more closely. "In your world, do you find that memories are important?" "They're everything," Max replied. "The memories we make with others, they're what we carry with us." It wasn't just the pictures that touched Lyria's heart. It was the stories Max shared with her. He told her about his childhood, about the fun times with his friends, and how difficult it was sometimes to lose people. Each story made her realize the value of human relationships. It was these connections that made humans unique. Although Lyria hadn't known her family for long, she felt something in her heart that was new, an appreciation for the bonds people built over time. As days turned into weeks, Lyria began to open up about her own past, fragments of memories of her world that would drift into her mind like faint whispers. She didn't have many answers about her journey, about how she ended up here on Earth, but what she knew made her wonder more about the world she came from. Max always listened without judgment and supported her, helping her search for more information, especially on the internet about her home world. But something was different about their growing connection. It felt less like a new friendship and more like something more profound. Max found himself wondering about how easily she fit into his life now. Her presence had filled a gap in him that he didn't even know existed. They had formed an undeniable bond, not defined by their differences, but strengthened because of them. One afternoon, while Max was working from home, he heard the familiar sound of footsteps approaching his office door. Lyria peeked inside with a soft smile. "I was thinking," she began, her voice gentle, "that maybe it's time I try to repay some of your kindness. You've taught me so much, shared your world with me. How can I give something back?" Max smiled at the genuine concern in her tone. "Lyria, you've already given me more than I could have imagined. But I want to do more," she replied, sitting down next to his desk. "Perhaps there is a way for me to help you as well. I might not know everything about your world, but I know I can learn. I can contribute somehow." Max was touched. Lyria wasn't just thinking about herself. She wanted to make a difference in his life too. "You already do, more than you know," he said. "Your curiosity, your kindness, it makes a huge difference." Lyria thought for a moment before asking again, "What are there things that humans miss about the world around them? Things that you'd like to understand more deeply?" Max paused and then, without thinking too much, said, "I guess I've always wondered if there's more to life than what we see every day. We're so caught up in routines, we forget to look up, to look beyond." Lyria's eyes brightened as an idea sparked in her mind. "What if I helped you look beyond the usual? Together, we could explore parts of your world you might not have even thought about before. I've already seen how amazing humans are at finding joy, even in small things. Maybe we can find ways to make life a little more exciting." Max raised an eyebrow at her, intrigued by the possibility. "You mean, explore Earth? Why not?" Lyria grinned. "I've already explored parts of your home, but what if we did more? There are places in this world that are special, beautiful, and who knows, maybe we'll learn more about you in the process, about what you value most." Max was taken aback by the idea but smiled. "I never thought of it that way. Exploring. What a great idea." Soon after that conversation, they began planning a small weekend getaway to a nearby national park. Lyria had heard a lot about Earth's natural beauty, and she was eager to experience it firsthand. The idea of looking at Earth through her eyes made Max realize how many things he had overlooked in his own life. He began to get excited about the trip, looking forward to the adventure they would share. It wasn't just the destinations they were excited about, it was the journey itself. They didn't need much, just each other's company, and a chance to see the world anew. It was about sharing new experiences and deepening the bond they had formed. "Max," Lyria said as they packed their bags together that evening, "there's something else I've learned from you. Life is not just about where you go, it's about who you go with." Max looked up at her, smiling. "I couldn't agree more." And in that moment, they both realized how far they had come, not just physically, but emotionally as well. This adventure was just the beginning. No matter where the future took them, they would always have each other. It was a bond that had been built on curiosity, respect, and the willingness to learn, and it would last a lifetime. The day of their getaway had arrived. Max and Lyria stood side by side, staring out at the towering trees that marked the entrance to the national park. The air was crisp, and the peaceful sounds of nature filled their ears. Birds chirped, leaves rustled in the wind, and Max couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. "Ready for an adventure?" Max asked, his eyes gleaming with excitement. Lyria smiled, her eyes shining with excitement as well. "More than ever. Let's see what secrets Earth is hiding." They set off, walking along a trail that stretched far ahead of them. The trail wound through tall trees, alongside flowing streams, and past colorful wildflowers. Max had been to the park a few times before, but this was different. With Lyria by his side, everything felt fresh. Even the simplest sights felt new. Lyria seemed fascinated by the world around her. She stopped to touch the rough bark of a tree, her fingers running along its texture. "Your planet, it's full of surprises. There's so much here I never even imagined." Max chuckled, watching her curiosity grow with every step. "I guess I've forgotten how incredible nature can be. Being too caught up in my work and daily routines, I missed the wonder of it all." "That's one of the things I love about humans," Lyria said with a thoughtful expression. "You don't always see how special the world around you is until someone else shows you. You remind me that it's okay to pause, to appreciate what's right in front of us." As they walked deeper into the forest, they came across a wide clearing. The sunlight streamed through the trees, casting long shadows on the ground. Lyria took a deep breath, her eyes closing for a moment as she took in the fresh air. "I feel so alive here, Max," she said, her voice soft. "Back on my home planet, the sky was always covered with clouds, the ground was colder. But here, it feels different, like the Earth is welcoming us." Max smiled. "I'm glad you feel that way." They found a spot by the stream and sat down. Lyria had taken off her shoes and was dipping her toes in the cool water, her expression one of pure contentment. Max had never seen her so peaceful before. She had truly embraced her time on Earth, and in turn, she had helped him see his own world with fresh eyes. "Do you miss your home?" Max asked, breaking the comfortable silence. Lyria looked up at the sky, her face thoughtful. "Sometimes, yes, there are memories that linger, faces, voices. But I've learned something important here. Home isn't just a place. It's where you find connections, where you build relationships. I thought I was lost, but now I realize I found something more." She looked at Max, her eyes meeting his. "I found you." Max felt a warmth spread through his chest as he took her hand. "And I found you. I never expected this, to have you in my life, teaching me so much about what really matters. You're not just an alien from another world. You're someone important, someone I care about." Lyria smiled, her eyes softening. "And I never thought I'd find someone like you on a strange planet. But here we are." They sat together for a while, enjoying the serenity of the moment. As the afternoon sun began to dip lower in the sky, painting the world in shades of orange and pink, they both felt a sense of peace. Later that night, they set up camp, a small fire crackling before them. Lyria gazed up at the sky, her eyes filled with wonder. "Where I'm from, the sky was always so far away, so unreachable. But here, it feels so close. Like if I just reach out, I could touch the stars." Max, sitting beside her, looked up too. "That's the thing about Earth. Everything feels so tangible, like it's all within reach if you're brave enough to go after it." Lyria turned to him, her voice sincere. "Max, being with you has made me realize that there's no limit to what we can experience together. The stars might be far away, but it's the journey we take to reach them that truly matters." Max smiled, feeling more alive than he had in a long time. "I used to think life was just about following a path. But now, I see. It's about discovering the unknown, together. The adventures, the moments we share, the lessons we learn from one another. That's where the real magic happens." "Then let's continue to explore together," Lyria said, her voice firm with resolution. "On Earth, in the stars, wherever the universe takes us." Max held her gaze, his heart filled with more than just admiration. He knew that their journey had only just begun. With each passing day, their bond would grow, stronger and deeper. The universe was vast, filled with endless possibilities. But in that moment, sitting by the fire with Lyria, it felt like their adventure had already reached its perfect destination. Together, they could face whatever came next. Together, they would discover not just new places, but new sides of themselves. And in that shared exploration, they would find something even more valuable than any adventure, each other. And that, Max realized, was everything.